I've decided to try to find a solution for people to be more active and disconnect from their screen. And basically, walking was for me at the time one of the most undervalued physical activity because it's the less painful one. It is what we call the natural speed of human being, and and it's a way for people to disconnect from their screen, but also to reconnect with their surrounding. So this is why we've decided to build an app that will stimulate and motivate people to walk every day.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. I also run Did It, a digital first marketing agency, as well as a bunch of other businesses. And super excited to be chatting today with Yves Benchimol, who started WeWard. And WeWard is an app that sort of centers around people walking. So it's always interesting to see when people start apps that sort of grow on their own and don't necessarily require a lot of marketing behind them. But of course, marketing is still at the core of what you do. But let's start, Yves, first with your origin story about why you decided to go ahead and start the app.
Yes, sure. So thank you for having me. Very happy to be here. But yeah, I started WeWard. It was 5 years ago in 2019. So basically, I'm an engineer. And at that time, I spent most of my time behind my screen. And a lot of technology was developed to, I would say, simplify our life, like ordering a cab, ordering food directly to your door, this kind of stuff. And this is like very convenient, but the fact is like it makes us some inactive people, and it become more and more easy to stay on your couch and having everything delivered directly to your door. So I've decided to try to find a solution for people to be more active and disconnect from their screen. And basically, walking was for me at the time one of the most undervalued physical activity because it's the less painful one. It is what we call the natural speed of human being, and and it's a way for people to disconnect from their screen, but also to reconnect with their surrounding. So this is why we've decided to build an app that will stimulate and motivate people to walk every day.
Yeah, it's a great origin story. And so does the pitch to the actual user differ a lot from the pitch that you use if you're trying to get sort of brands or business partners or sponsors involved, or is it basically the same pitch?
So we don't have necessarily the same pitch for brands and partners and users because the value is not the same. So for users, what we said is two things. The first one is like WeWard is an app that will give you money for walking. So basically you walk every day, so why not taking some money for that? And people then will download the app, so it's kind of a hook, and will understand that the app is not only about getting rewarded for walking, but also walking more. So the app will stimulate you to be more active and be a better version of yourself and having all the benefit that walking can bring to you. For partners, what we offer them, because we have a model where we do advertising, affiliate marketing into the app, so we offer them the ability to communicate with the community of people uh, that use the app for health and wellness reasons. So it's a good environment to communicate, and also we show them all the KPIs that they can reach thanks to the app, and especially the number of views, the number of sales, the conversion rate of people into the app. So we our promise is to increase their revenue thanks to WeWork.
Yeah, that's certainly true. It's interesting because I was thinking about different apps, and some apps are extremely niche, right? And it's you would know based on the app that it's a cat enthusiast, or you would know based on the app that it's a golfer because it's maps of golf courses. And walking is such a unique, is such a general activity, right? That anybody could have the app installed, which is great for reach, right? But as you start to think through this idea of reach versus targeting, how have you thought through the fact that there may or may not be a common demographic or psychographic that's obvious, right, in comparison to other apps? And how do you then talk to sponsors about that?
The fact is that we have the ability to do segmentation inside our database.
Right.
So we can target specific audience. So we have a large audience because walking is like dedicated to anyone, so it's not a
Yeah.
niche audience. But if someone wants to target, let's say, runners, we have the ability to segment people who are doing like a high frequency of steps because running is just like walking at the highest frequency. So we
Yeah.
can do that. If you want to target people in a specific city, the app has also the ability to know the geolocation of people. So we can do that. And if you talk about golf player, we can also detect people that have like inside golf to target them. So yeah, we have this ability to target people based on different type of data. And the goal, as every social media or every type of action, is to personalize the experience for the user because it's always better to have targeted content and
Right.
for partners to increase the conversion rates.
Yeah. And that's a great point, I think, that is missed on many folks that are involved in marketing on the publishing side or on the advertising side, is that the best targeting is good for both sides, right? It's not just good for the
Yeah,
marketer, it's good for the consumer as well. Nobody wants to be seeing irrelevant advertising. We would all like to, we would prefer to see relevant advertising. So the stronger the signal is, whether it's demographic or psychographic, and the better that allows you to target offers, that's better for your installed base for the app as well as the marketer.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Have you seen, one thing that happens a lot in social media platforms and in apps, as well as even just with websites that have content where the people are consuming the content, is you end up with some kind of a power curve, right? So there's like a really active group of users that are like orders of magnitude more active than the others. Now, one would hope that wasn't the case with walking. One would hope that walkers, like everybody's walking to some minimum number of steps. But do you also have sort of like a stratosphere of some people who are unusually physically active because they're runners, or just because it's part of their job or whatever?
Yeah, we have what we call the professional walkers, which is basically people who are walking part of their jobs. So it can be someone working on a restaurant, someone working in a hospital, a cleaning person, all of that job where you have to walk almost all day. Um, and yeah, we have, of course, like every app, we have a power user, which is people that connect to the app multiple times per day, every day, engage with every feature into the app because the app has many features and not only the fact that you count your steps, but there is also gaming into the app, social elements. So yeah, we have this for user that bring the app and test all the features and give more feedback and we have like some user which is just user like occasional users that come to the app twice, third times so per week and yeah, it's totally different. We are what we consider as a daily app, and some people and of course the pro user are people that work the most and also wants to increase the number of steps the most.
Right, right. So I'd love to hear any stories with regards to, partnerships you've had with marketers, or business partnerships that you've had that perhaps weren't the obvious ones that were sort of surprisingly successful for you. Are there any case studies that you can share?
Uh, so of course we have a successful partnership with brands and especially, which is not a surprise, on the health and wellness. we can think about Nike, Adidas. This is part of the brand that doing where we do affiliate marketing with them, and it's working a lot because when people start to walk more, they need to have shoes dedicated for that, and working with some of the best brand in the world can help. So it's not surprising, but we have this kind of partnership that will work very well.
Right, right. Have there been any that are sort of outside in health and wellness that also worked particularly well with the target audience, maybe because the offer was unusually good?
Yeah, travel is working well.
Hmm.
People that like to walk, like to visit, so it's not also very surprising. But the success uh, is uh, is also due to that. So we work for instance, with Booking.com, which is a big partner for us, and yeah, it's working well.
Right. So gamification sometimes can change behaviors a little bit, right? As can rewards. So I'd love to hear more about how behavior change has been become sort of obvious for folks once they start to use the app. Can you sort of point to the health benefits as a result of the behavior change?
Yeah. Um, So we use three main pillars to motivate people to walk. So the first one is the reward. So we give rewards to people. So when I'm talking about reward, I'm talking about financial rewards. So this is like coins that you can convert into gift card, cash, or donation to charity. We use social. So it's a way for you to compete with your friends, with your family, with the community, to be the best worker of the week, of the month. And the last one is gamification. So gamification can be inside the reward, inside the social, or like alone. So the gamification, you have badges, you have status, you have a game where you have to collect stuff around you. So you have to walk in your area, in your surrounding to take stuff. In your neighborhoods, and then you have to complete the collection card games. And and yeah, gamification is one of the most powerful tools to motivate people to do stuff. And it's almost today every mobile app that use gamification at some point inside the experience. Of course, one of the inspiration for us was Duolingo. If you look at Duolingo, they use gamification to make you learn a language. We use kind of the same mechanism to make people walk. One other inspiration is Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is a very efficient tool to make people move and go outside, and we also been inspired by their success to develop these collection card games. Um, so yeah, we use the classic gamification aspect, but we adapt this to the specific use case of walking, because the most of the game has the one of the main metrics they use is the time spent into the app. And for us, is the time spent into the app. It's not something we are looking for because it's the totally opposite of the vision of the company. But what we try to increase is the number of steps, so the time spent by walking, and we use the same to apply to this. And so yeah, we when I started the company, I read a lot of book of cognitive science to understand how the brain works, and gamification is part of making like the stimulation of your brain and all the dopamine that will be generating when you succeed a level, when you have a badges, when you complete a challenge, be at the maximum of dopamine in order to make your brain wants more, so continuing to work to get more.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some stuff you might end up doing in the future when you reach critical mass in certain geographies, because I can certainly imagine that, around the New York City Marathon or the Boston Marathon, that not only the runners, but the attendees, because there's a lot of those, could end up participating in some fun gamification, particularly if sponsors also, created sort of Pokemon Go style, check-in points
Yeah.
that related to the sponsor and the sponsor's locations. It, of course, it's more complicated to execute something like that but at a certain scale, I think those kinds of things are absolutely possible. And I look forward to you guys reaching that scale so I can see and potentially participate in some of those things.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but yeah, let me know if you have any feedback when you use the app, and yeah, would love to get your sense of what the app is, and if we manage to motivate you to work more, I would love to learn about
Yes,
it.
yes. I mean, I really these days I think I look at a lot of things through a nonprofit lens because I run a nonprofit that helps other nonprofits. And so that's sort of where I'm sort of thinking through that a little bit. Uh, because one of the things that certain nonprofits do is they do walkathons, they do marathons, they do those kinds of things as fundraising vehicles, right? And so they're sort of a natural fit from a partnership perspective as they do these things where they could potentially stimulate new installs, but also potentially take their sponsors and engage those sponsors in adding more gamification to it because they've already got most of those sponsors lined up, and maybe they can get some more money out of the sponsors as a result. Um, but yeah, I mean, it could create a win-win scenario because I'm thinking back to all the various walkathons and other similar charity related events, right? Because even though the marathons are also charity related, I think those obviously are somewhat exclusive to the runners who can run either quickly enough or at a long enough distance that they'll feel like they'll participate. We also obviously see a lot of charity related 5K events,
Yeah,
right? So 5K is not as exclusionary as a marathon is because marathon is many more miles than a 5K. But walkathons and these kinds of 5K events and charity events, I think, are sort of a natural fit for both user acquisition, but also from a sponsor engagement perspective. So, to the extent that I can facilitate some of those introductions, I hope to do that because I live and breathe, maybe 1/4 of my time in the nonprofit ecosystem.
no, that's great. But I will tease to you a new feature that will be launched very soon in WeWard, but I'm sure that you will be very interested. But I cannot tell you so much about this feature, but we will launch in the coming months a feature uh, where you will be able to raise money by working for the charity of your choice. And yeah, it will be an opportunity for you to ask people to work for any code that you want. And so, as you engage in this market, it's not just the day of the marathon or the day of the walk that people
Of course.
can work for this specific project you may have, but every day when they will work, they will say, okay, my step bring money to this person or to this organization or to this charity. And at the end of few months, they will be able to see the amount of dollars collected for this and be part of this. So the more people participate, the more money, and it can be cool because in the story of WeWard, we managed to give back more than $1 million to charities, and hopefully it will be 10 times more in the future.
Yeah, well, that would be amazing, and I do like the idea of layering on the philanthropic gamification because it adds a new layer to the overall ecosystem. I'd love to dig a little bit more into sort of what happens when you reach critical mass within certain geographies, because that also potentially facilitates in real life congregation of people together. And I'd love to hear whether or not that sort of fit into your product roadmap or that happened serendipitously, or whether the community ended up not just walking independently but walking in groups, and to the extent that has been maybe an unexpected positive surprise, or maybe it didn't happen as much as you thought it would.
Now, what happened when we have a geography where there is a lot of reward user community starts to being created, mostly on social media, and people meet each other to work together, and it's very powerful because people like share ideas about work they like to do and the area where working is convenient and it's also a pleasure. So. So yeah, we have multiple group on internet and especially on Facebook as it has been created thanks to WeWard. And yeah, we will continue to motivate people to when we have a critical mass to work together and to share advice about where is the best spot to work.
Yeah, that's a great point. Some cities may not be as walker friendly as others, and they have obvious places to walk, like we have here in Manhattan with Central Park
Yeah,
and such. But there may be
yeah,
some
for
lesser
sure.
known locations that are also walker friendly. So a question with regards to you delved in as you should have into sort of the gamification and psychological elements of the app as you built it and as you created badges and levels and all the other rewards ecosystem. So for other developers or product managers who are building applications that have an element of community or an element of gamification, what advice would you have to them as they start to plan out their feature set, their function set?
The first advice is to not use gamification, like to not go too deep on gamification if you don't have like a specific use case and core loop. The most important is to understand what is the value of the user and the core loop. So the beginning of WeWard was very simple. It was just a step counter that give you coin at every steps. And then we add a lot of gamification elements like badges, status, level, challenges, the social element. But at the beginning, the core loop was very powerful. So you need to be sure about the core loop of your app because the gamification will complexify the app. It will stimulate the brain of people, but it will also complexify. So keep it simple at the beginning and then start to add gamification element in the experience of the user. But if you start, my advice would be to not start with too much gamification element, but understand what is the first the actions that you want the user to do every day into your app, what is like the and what the benefit for the user when he will do this action and try to work around that.
Right, right. That's a great point. You can't take a bad foundation and just make it work by adding gamification. The gamification is an amplifier,
Mm.
right, of people's
Exactly.
behavior.
So every time you will add gamification, you will add few points of retention, few points of engagement. But the base has to be very solid to add that. So sometimes, because I'm also investing in some startup and I'm also advising some startup, sometimes when I look at the data, I say, no, don't add like badges, don't add like the social element because people don't use the core loop of your app. You need to understand why people wants to use it and why people doesn't want to use it and to change that before adding the other. Because then adding gamification it's a matter of time and test and test and time and test. So it can be very long. And every time you will do that, you will earn some points of retention, but you need to have a very solid core concept of the app.
So, what else should we be talking about from the perspective of sponsors that aren't pure performance based, right? Because obviously for you, it's easy enough for you to plug into the affiliate platforms and such. And great, I'm sure that obviously they're excited about having pure performance deals, but there are some marketers who are actually excited about, being able to communicate with a community in the mid to upper funnel, right? And not
Yeah,
necessarily on a pure performance basis. So I'd love to hear how your conversations have been different and how people should think about conversations differently when they're having sponsor conversations, in the mid to upper funnel for branding and awareness.
yeah, we do that too. We even had a partnership with the French government for the Olympic Games, and it was not a performance at all, but just
Right.
promoting a healthy lifestyle for French people and also promoting outside of France the this period, which was the Olympic Games and like the importance of moving and being active. So we do that. And of course, having the impact in terms of number of views can be very useful for them. But WeWard is like the image of what you will give to people. So for WeWard, we have the image of giving back to charity, the image of being active, the healthy app. And so this participates to also sign some deals with company. So do not look for performance, but mostly look for branding. And yeah, they ask for volume and they ask for uh, good advertising inside the app to go in the point of people as a brand are taking care of people. And this is why also we have a lot of values that we taking care about. We are a B Corp company. We are a mission driving company. We also work a lot on ecological aspect of walking because we have to know that it's 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 uh, it's always good to remind that walking is the most efficient and ecological way to move. So we also insist on that, and this is why we also work with brands that want to communicate around this topic. So I would say that branding can work. Is of course it's way difficult to estimate the benefit and the ROI, but for sure, we managed to do it with some brands, and we managed to transmit the message they want to push on the eyes of people.
Right. Do you have any plans to, if you reach a certain critical mass, allow for potentially offline purchase behavior to be, engageable within the app? I mean, if you reach a certain size, for example, in a geography, you could hypothetically partner with a chamber of commerce or partner with businesses within that geography to, allow not just for online performance-based marketing deals, but redeemable offers, if a person happens to walk
We
somewhere.
do. No, we do it in France. We do
Oh, you
it
do it? Okay,
actually in
cool.
France. Yeah. Yeah, we do it.
That's great. So what would the what are some good use cases there that you could explain about how that's ended up working in France?
No, we work with some of the largest retailers in the world, and you can redeem your points in store. You can redeem your points with gift card that you can use in store. You can also earn points if you go on specific location. So yeah, we drive traffic, offline traffic, thanks to these digital products. So yeah, we also do, which is basically offline affiliate marketing, basically, but we do that
Exactly. Yeah.
even, and yeah, it's working well. But yeah, we also work with some restaurant. We work with this kind of uh, of retailers that wants to drive traffic and acquire new customers. So it can be either on, but actually, like for the story, at the beginning, we were only offline for our partners, but during COVID, we expand our business model with online company, but we still have this activity.
Right, right. Is there anything unusual about growth rates by city? Like in the United States, obviously, in France, I'm imagining Paris is a big locus of users, but perhaps it's not as obvious, either in France or in the United States as to where your user base is sort of growing more rapidly. Do you see that certain cities have a different growth rate than each other?
Actually, the the app worked very well in what we call walkable city. So
Mhm.
New York is one of the most walkable city in the world, I would say. Paris too, because they take care of pedestrians, take care of walkers, because uh, you have this big street where people like to walk, and also taking a car is not very convenient, very efficient. So it's city where people walk. So of course, this is what we observe in terms of growth rate. If you go to some city in the United States, people don't walk at all. Like there is some area where they walk, but to go from point A to point B, they almost take their car always. So the growth rate is more difficult in this kind of city.
Yeah, no, it's sort of funny. I had to smile a little bit because as a Manhattanite for many, many years, and I would go out to speak at conferences, and I went to a conference in LA, and then, there I think that after the event there was sort of a group meeting. I think it might have been like a mile and a half away or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, I'll walk it." And you literally could not walk it, right? There was no way in Los Angeles for me to, because there was no sidewalks or anything. So I would
Yeah,
imagine
exactly.
Los
Yeah.
Angeles is not a walkable city for most of it in comparison to New York. And I hadn't really
But
thought
if you
about
go on
that
Los
difference.
Angeles, but the behavior of people in Los Angeles is very different because people take their car to go to some area in Los Angeles and especially like Venice Beach, and
Yeah,
people walk there and spend time there. And
yeah,
in the US, you have different behaviors than in Europe. But for instance, people can go with their car to a big shopping center, shopping mall, but inside they walk a lot. Like it's like miles and miles inside the same area.
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's very different behavior, but it doesn't mean that they are inactive. It just means that they are not like the same way as you can be in New York or you can be in Paris.
Yeah, yeah. That's it's great. It's interesting to start to think about the differences in geography and the behaviors you're trying to stimulate. So thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. It was a pleasure learning about the journey you've been on and launching the WeWord app and how it really aligns the interests of marketers and consumers together.
No, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.